We had Jean here, leading French journalist in town not much longer than a month ago, was here talking about the Providence Committee on Foreign Relations, about all things pertaining to the French elections, but wanted to reach out today with what had happened in Paris after we've seen what's happened in London. And of course, Paris, no stranger to incidents of terror. Sort of a lone person at Notre Dame today, Notre Dame, if you will, basically creating a situation that, again, enveloped a world that's already on edge. Talk to us about what happened today there.
Well, in Paris, there was an incident that, of course, considering the general context of what's going on in the world, was a little bit scary. At the same time, it's a very minor incident as far as what actually happened. Just a guy who is, of course, went and attacked a policeman shouting, "This is for Syria," and "I am a soldier of the caliphate." So that sounds really scary, and it is. It is very scary for the policeman, but it's, very low-cost terrorism. The guy just had a hammer, a few kitchen knives. He barely touched the poor policeman who was superficially hurt. So it's more, it's less than what it looks like, considering what was known in Paris for, quite a few months and even years now. And it is scary because this, even though this is not as deadly as some other attacks, it is the symbol of many other attacks that have been thwarted by the police. It's also another one of many actions that actually cost the lives of another policeman on the Champs-Élysées in April. Mm-hmm. At the same time, if you look at what actually happened today, it was nothing. And it was spectacular because, it happened in front of Notre Dame, which is one of the great landmarks of Christianity. It happened, next to the headquarters of the Paris police too. But compared to what happened in London or in Manchester last week, that's not too bad.
Do you get the sense, again, because, all European countries, France and England especially, being on high alert for terror attacks, have you seen, has it been in months or years? I mean, how much more security is there at places, especially high-profile places, tourist destinations? Is there a very visible presence, French Open, if you will, even more so, or do you not see it per se? Maybe it's, they're just there at the waiting.
Yeah, there is a very, we've been living in a state of emergency for quite a while now. So there's a very visible police and military force out there. It should be, we should stress the fact that the policemen are actually extremely tired. They've been on high alert for so long. They barely get any free time. I think they get a free weekend every 6 weeks. The number of policemen in France have been cut down under the past two administrations, and same as in England, where Theresa May, as Minister of the Interior, I think cut down the police force in Britain by about 20,000 people, and she's being in dire straits politically because of that. It's so the police is, yes, very tired, and you might think that we live in very tense times. At the same time, when you see today's attack in front of this glorious landmark where 30,000 tourists come every day, there was no panic, even though 900 people were held inside the cathedral for a few hours. There was no panic. And it's, it's a sign that we're getting used to living in those conditions. It's also a very reassuring sign. 2 years ago, the head of the French intelligence services said he feared that if there were more attacks, then there would be some kind of popular militias that would go crazy and would go out and attack Muslim people. This has not happened, and the hate crimes in France are not reassuring because they do happen. But at the same time, you would think that with so many attacks in the past few years, there would be more hate crimes than there actually are.
So what would you like to say? I appreciate at this moment's notice, folks obviously want to get a sense of what's going on. If we're over here in Rhode Island, as you said, it was just sort of one operative, but the press sort of played it up, quite a bit. Was there a disconnect between the press coverage and what actually took place, would you say?
Yes, of course. In Paris in the past few days, there were two major sports events, the final of a French soccer championship. 80,000 people went to the Stade de France. The president was there. The security was very high, of course. There was not a single incident. And there was a rugby final last weekend. There was not a single incident, again, with 80,000 people. The French Open is being played right now in Roland Garros. It's sold out every day. There's a lot of security, but people are very calm and, don't change their daily life because of those actions of some criminals, which, by the way, might be, this low-cost terrorism, because even in Britain, there were, in London the other day, it was an awful attack. At the same time, when you think that it only took 8 minutes for the police to take care of it, it's in a way reassuring. Those attacks that multiply and will probably multiply a little more in the next few months, or might be interpreted as a sign that ISIS as a whole is losing a lot of ground, which it has lost in Mosul, Iraq. It's losing ground in Raqqa, Syria. So, let's hope these acts are kind of desperate last gasps by those terrible people.
Well, Jean Lesieur, I very much appreciate your being able to Skype in today. Hopefully we'll see you here in Rhode Island. I know you split time between the States and France, but I appreciate getting your perspective today here, Jean, after what took place, and I'm sure that we will be talking at some point soon. Again, we appreciate having your perspective here, Jean.
Thank you.
Okay, merci.